Network check. Hare Krishna. So let's try that again. Hare Krishna. We'd like to welcome everyone to our Sunday weekly Krishna book reading to Srila Prabhupada. And before we begin, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskachade Shatarne. And to each other, Vanchakalpa Durbyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So for all of our readers online, we're on Chapter 5. And you may note the subtitles at the bottom of the page. This will help you to follow along. Chapter 5, the meeting of Nanda and Vasudeva. Although Krishna was the real son of Vasudeva and Devaki, because of Kamsa's atrocious activities, Vasudeva could not enjoy the birth ceremony of his son. But Nanda Maharaj, the foster father, celebrated the birth ceremony of Krishna very joyfully. The next day, it was declared that a male child had been born to Yashoda. According to Vedic custom, Nanda Maharaj called for learned astrologers and brahmanas to perform the birth ceremony. After the birth of a child, the astrologers calculate the moment of the birth and make a horoscope of the child's future life. Before the birth ceremony, the family members take baths, cleanse themselves, and decorate themselves with ornaments and nice garments. Then they come before the child and the astrologer to hear of the future life of the child. Nanda Maharaj and other members of the family dressed and sat down in front of the birthplace. All the brahmanas who were assembled there on this occasion chanted auspicious mantras according to the rituals, while the astrologers performed the birth ceremony. All the demigods are also worshipped on this occasion, as well as the forefathers of the family. Nanda Maharaj distributed to the brahmanas 200,000 cows, which were well decorated with cloth and ornaments. He gave the brahmanas not only cows in charity, but also hills of grain decorated with ornaments and golden bordered cloth.
In the material world, we possess riches and wealth in many ways, but sometimes not in very honest and pious ways, because that is the nature of the accumulating wealth. According to Vedic injunction, therefore, one should purify such wealth by giving cows and gold in charity to the Brahmanas. A newborn child is also purified by gifts of grain in charity to the Brahmanas. In this material world, it is to be understood that we are always living in a contaminated state. We therefore have to purify the duration of our lives, our possession of wealth, and ourselves. We can purify our duration of life by taking daily bath and cleansing the body inside and outside, and accepting the 10 kinds of purificatory processes. By austerities, by worship of the God, Lord, and by distribution of charity, we can purify the possession of wealth. We can purify ourselves by studying the Vedas in order to understand the absolute truth and achieve self-realization. It is therefore stated in the Vedic literature that by birth everyone is born a Shudra, that by accepting the purificatory process one becomes twice born, that by studying the Vedas one becomes a Vipra, which is the preliminary qualification for becoming a Brahmana, and that when one perfectly understands the absolute truth, he becomes a Brahmana. And when the Brahmana reaches further perfection, he becomes a Vaishnava or a devotee.
In Krishna's birth ceremony, all the assembled Brahmanas began to chant different kinds of Vedic mantras to invoke all good fortune for the soil. There are different kinds of chanting known as Suta, Magadha, Vanija, and Vrindavan. Along with this chanting of mantras and songs, bugles and kettle drums are sounded outside the house. On this occasion, the joyous vibrations could be heard in all the pasturing grounds and all the houses. Within the outside of the houses, there were varieties of artistic paintings done with rice pulp, and scented water was sprinkled everywhere. Even on the roads and streets, ceilings and roofs were decorated with different kinds of flags, festoons, and green leaves. The gates were made of green leaves and flowers. All the cows, bulls, and calves were smeared with a mixture of oil and turmeric and painted with minerals like red oxide, yellow clay, and manganese. They wear garlands of peacock feathers and were covered with nice colored cloths and gold necklaces.
When all the ecstatic cowherd men heard that Nanda Maharaj, the father of Krishna, was celebrating the birth ceremony of his son, they became spontaneously joyful. They dressed themselves with very costly garments and ornaments, their bodies with different kinds of earrings and necklaces, and wore great turban on their heads. After dressing themselves in this gorgeous way, they took various kinds of presents and thus approached the house of Nanda Maharaj. As soon as they heard that Mother Yashoda had given birth to a child, all the cowherd women became overwhelmed with joy, and they also dressed themselves with various kinds of costly garments and ornaments, and seemed scented cosmetic on their bodies.
Hare Krishna. As the dust on the lotus flower exhibits the exquisite beauty of flower, the all gopis cowherd women applied the dust of kumkuma on their lotus like faces. These beautiful gopis took their different presentations and very soon reached the house of Maharaj Nanda. Overburdened with their heavy hips and swollen breasts, the gopis could not proceed very quickly toward the house of Nanda Maharaj. But out of ecstatic love for Krishna, they proceeded as quickly as possible. Their ears were decorated with pearl rings. Their necks were decorated with jeweled lockets. Their lips and eyes were decorated with different kinds of lipstick and ointment, and their hands were decorated with nice golden bangles. As they were very hastily passing over the stone road, the flower garlands which were decorating their bodies fell to the ground, and it appeared that a shower of flowers was falling from the sky. From the movement of their different kinds of ornaments on their bodies, they were looking still more beautiful. In this way, they all reached the house of Nanda Yasoda and blessed the child. Dear child, you live long just to protect us. While they were blessing child Krishna in this way, they offered mixture of turmeric powder, oil, yogurt, milk and water. They sprinkled this mixture not only on the body of child Krishna, but on all the persons who were present there. Also on the auspicious occasion, there were different bands of expert musicians playing.
When the cowherd men saw the pastimes of the cowherd women, they became very joyful, and in response, they also began to throw yogurt, milk, clarified butter, and water upon the bodies of the gopis. Then both parties began to throw butter on each other's bodies. Nanda Maharaj was also very happy to see the pastimes of the cowherd men and women, and he became very liberal in giving charity to the different singers who were assembled there. Some singers were reciting great verses from the Upanishads and Puranas. Some were glorifying the family ancestors, and some were singing very sweet songs. There were also many learned brahmanas present, and Nanda Maharaj, being very satisfied on this occasion, gave them different kinds of garments, ornaments, and cows in charity.
It is very important to note in this connection how wealthy the inhabitants of Vrindavan were simply by raising cows. All the cowherdmen belonged to the Vaishya community, and their business was to protect the cows and cultivate crops. By their dress and ornaments and by their behavior, it appears that although they were in a small village, they still were rich in material possessions. They possessed such an abundance of various kinds of milk products that they were throwing butter lavishly on each other's bodies without restriction. Their wealth was in milk, yogurt, clarified butter, and many other milk products, and by trading their agricultural products. They were rich in various kinds of jewelry, ornaments, and costly garments. Not only did they possess all these things, but they could give them away in charity lavishly, as did Nanda Maharaj.
Thus, Nanda Maharaj, the foster father of Lord Krishna, began to satisfy the desires of all the men assembled there. He respectfully received them and gave them in charity whatever they desired. The learned Brahmanas, who had no other source of income, were completely dependent on the Vaishya's community for their maintenance, and they received gifts on such festive occasions as birthday and marriages. While Nanda Maharaj was worshipping Lord Vishnu on this occasion and was trying to satisfy all the people there, his only desire was that the newborn child Krishna would be happy. Nanda Maharaj had no knowledge that this child was the origin of Vishnu. He was praying to Lord Vishnu to protect him. Rohini Devi, the mother of Balram, was the most fortunate wife of Vasudeva. She was away from her husband, yet just to congratulate Maharaj Nanda on the occasion of the birth ceremony of his son Krishna, she dressed herself very nicely. Wearing a garland, a necklace, and other bodily ornaments, she appeared on the scene and moved hither and thither. According to the Vedic system, a woman whose husband is not at home doesn't dress herself very nicely. But although Rohini's husband was away, she still dressed herself very nicely on this occasion.
From the opulence of the birth ceremony of Krishna, it is very clear that at that time Vrindavana was rich in every respect, because Lord Krishna took birth in the house of King Nanda and Mother Yasoda. The goddess of fortune was obliged to manifest her opulences in Vrindavana. It appeared that Vrindavana had already become a site for the pastimes of goddess of fortune. After the birth ceremony, Nanda Maharaja decided to go to Mathura to pay the annual tax to the government of Kamsa. Before leaving, he called for the able cowherd men of the village and asked them to take care of Vrindavana in his absence. When Nanda Maharaja arrived in Mathura, Vasudeva got the news and was very eager to congratulate his friend. He immediately went to the place where Nanda Maharaja was staying. When Nanda saw Vasudeva, he felt that he had regained his life. Nanda, overwhelmed with joy, immediately stood up and embraced Vasudeva. Vasudeva was received very warmly and offered a nice place to sit. Anxious about his two sons, who had been put under the protection of Nanda without Nanda's knowledge, Vasudeva inquired about them with great anxiety. Both Balarama and Krishna were the sons of Vasudeva. Balarama was transferred to the womb of Rohini, Vasudeva's own wife, but Rohini was kept under the protection of Nanda Maharaja. Kamsa was personally delivered to Krishna was personally delivered to Yasoda and exchanged for her daughter. Ananda Maharaja knew that Balarama was the son of Vasudeva, but he did not know that Krishna was also Vasudeva's son. Vasudeva, of course, was aware of this fact and inquired very eagerly about both Krishna and Balarama.
Vasudev then addressed Nanda, my dear brother, you were always aware. Okay, I'll start. Vasudeva addressed Nanda, my dear brother, you were old and very anxious to beget a son, and yet you had none. Now, by the grace of the Lord, you are fortunate to have a very nice son. I think that this incident is very auspicious for you. Dear friend, I was imprisoned by Kamsa, and now I am released therefore. This is another birth for me. I had no hope of seeing you again, but by the God's grace I can see you. In this way, Vasudev indirectly expressed his anxiety about Krishna. Krishna was sent inaugurated to the bed of Mother Yashoda, and after Nanda was purposely celebrating Krishna's birth ceremony, he went to Mathura. So Vasudeva was very much pleased and said, this is a new birth for me. He never expected that Krishna would live because all his other sons had been killed by Kamsa.
Vasudev continued, my dear friend, it is very difficult for us to live together. Although we have our family and relatives, sons and daughters, by nature's way we are generally separated from one another. The reason for this is that every living entity appears on this earth under different pressure of fruitive activities. Although they assemble together, there is no certainty of their remaining together for a long time. According to one's fruitive activities, one has to act differently and thereby he is separated. For example, many plants and creepers are floated on the waves of the ocean. Sometimes they are come together and sometimes they separate forever. One plant goes one way and another plant goes another. Similarly, our family assembly may be very nice while we are living together, but after some time, in the course of the waves of time, we are separated.
The purport of this expression by Vasudeva is this. Although he had 8 sons born in the womb of Devaki, unfortunately they were all gone. He could not even keep his one son Krishna with him. Vasudeva was feeling his separation, but he could not express the real fact. Please tell me about the welfare of Vrindavan, he said. You have many animals. Are they happy? Are they getting sufficient grass and water? Please also let me know whether the place where you are now living is undisturbed and peaceful. This inquiry was made by Vasudeva because he was very serious about Krishna's safety. He knew that Kamsa and his followers were trying to kill Krishna by sending in various kinds of demons. They had already resolved that all children born within 10 days of the birthday of Krishna should be killed. Because Vasudeva was so anxious about Krishna, he inquired about the safety of his residents. He also inquired about Balaram and his mother Rohini, who were entrusted to the care of Nanda Maharaj. Vasudeva also reminded Nanda Maharaj that Balaram did not know his real father. He knows you as his father, and now you have another child, Krishna, and I think you are taking very nice care of both of them. It is also significant that Vasudeva inquired about the welfare of Nanda Maharaj's animals. The animals, and especially the cows, were protected exactly in the manner of one's children. Vasudeva was a Satriya, and Nanda Maharaj was a Vaishya. It is the duty of the Satriyas to give protection to the citizens, and it is the duty of the Vaishyas to give protection to the cows. The cows are as important as the citizens. Just as the human citizens should be given all kinds of protection, so the cows also should be given full protection.
Vasudeva continued to say that the maintenance of religious principles, economic development, and the satisfactory execution of meeting the demands of the senses depend on cooperation among relatives, nations, and all humanity. Therefore, it is everyone's duty to see that his fellow citizens and the cows are not put into difficulty. One should see to the peace and comfort of his fellow man and the animals. The development of religious principles, economic development, and sense gratification can then be achieved without difficulty. Vasudeva expressed his sorrow due to not being able to give protection to his own sons born of Devaki. He was thinking that religious principles, economic development, and the satisfaction of the senses, of his senses, were therefore all lust. Prabhupada. The satisfaction of his senses, therefore, were all lost.
Upon hearing this, Nanda Maharaja replied, "My dear Vasudeva, I know that you are very much aggrieved because the cruel king Kansa has killed all your sons born of Devaki. Although the last child was a daughter, Kansa could not kill her, and she was entered into the celestial planets. My dear friend, do not be aggrieved. We are all being controlled by our past unseen activities. Everyone is subjected to his past deeds, and one who is conversant with the philosophy of karma and its reaction is a man in knowledge. Such a person will not be aggrieved at any incident, happy or miserable." Vasudeva then replied, "My dear Nanda, if you have already paid the government taxes, then return soon to your place, because I think that there may be some disturbance in Gokula." After the friendly conversation between the Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva returned to his home. Nanda Maharaj and the other coward men who had come to Mathura to pay their taxes also returned home. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 5th chapter of Krishna, the meeting of the Nanda and Vasudeva. Hari
Chapter 6 Putana killed. While Nanda Maharaja was returning home, he considered Vasudeva's warning that there might be some disturbance in Gokula. Certainly, the advice was friendly and not false. So Nanda thought, there is some truth in it. Therefore, out of fear, he began to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is quite natural for a devotee in danger to think of Krishna because he has no other shelter. When a child is in danger, he takes shelter of his mother or father. Similarly, a devotee is always under the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead but when he specifically sees some danger, he rapidly.
After consulting with his demonic minister, Kamsa instructed a witch named Putna, who knew the black art of killing small children by a ghastly sinful method, to kill all kinds of children in the cities, villages, and pasturing grounds, such which can play their black art only where there is no chanting of or hearing of the holy name of Krishna. It is said that wherever the chanting of holy name of Krishna is done, even negligently, all bad elements, which ghosts and dangerous calamities, immediately disappear. And this is certainly true to the place where the chanting of the holy name of Krishna is done seriously, especially in Vrindavan, when Supreme Lord was personally present. Therefore, the doubt of Nanda Maharaj were certainly based on affection for Krishna. Actually, there was no danger from the activities of Putana despite her powers, such which are called Kichri, which means they can fly in the sky. This black art of witchcraft is still practiced by some women in the remote northern west side of India. They can transfer themselves from one place to another on the branch of a uproot tree. Putna knew this witchcraft and therefore she decided dress in the Bhagavatam as Kichri.
Putna entered the country of Gokula, the residential quarter of Nanda Maharaj, without permission. Dressing herself just like a beautiful woman, she entered the house of Mother Yasoda. She appeared very beautiful with raised hips, nicely swollen breasts, earrings, and flowers in her hair. She looked especially beautiful on account of her thin waist. She was glancing at everyone with very attractive looks and a smiling face, and all the residents of Vrindavan were captivated. The innocent cowherd women thought that she was the goddess of fortune, appearing in Vrindavan with a lotus flower in her hand. It seemed to them that she had personally come to see Krishna, who is her husband. Because of her exquisite beauty, no one checked her movement, and therefore she freely entered the house of Nanda Maharaj. Putna, the killer of many children, found baby Krishna lying on a small bed, and she could at once perceive that this baby was hiding his unparalleled potencies, which resembled fire covered by ashes. Putna thought, this child is so powerful that he can destroy the whole universe immediately.
Putana's understanding is very significant. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is situated in everyone's heart. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that he gives one necessary intelligence, and he also causes one to forget. Putana was immediately aware that the child whom she was observing in the house of Nanda Maharaj was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. He was lying there as a small baby, but that does not mean he was less powerful. The materialistic theory that God worship is anthropomorphic is not correct. No living being can become God by undergoing meditation or austerities. God is always God. Krishna as a baby is as complete as he is as a full-fledged youth. The Mayavadi theory holds that the living entity was formerly God, but has now become overwhelmed by the influence of Maya. Therefore, the Mayavadis say that presently he is not God, but when the influence of Maya is taken away, he will again become God. This theory cannot be applied to the minute living entities. The living entities are minute parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are minute particles or sparks of the original fire. So these sparks can be covered by the influence of Maya, but the original fire, Krishna, cannot. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even from the beginning of his appearance in the house of Vasudeva and Devaki.
Krishna showed the nature of a small baby and closed his eyes as if to avoid the face of Putana. This closing of the eyes is interpreted and studied in different ways by the devotees. Some say that Krishna closed his eyes because he did not like to see the face of Putana, who had killed so many children and who had now come to kill him. Others say that Putana hesitated to take the baby on her lap because something extraordinary was being dictated to her from within, and that in order to give her assurance, Krishna closed his eyes so she would not be frightened. And yet others interpret in this way: Krishna appeared in order to kill the demons and give protection to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Parichanaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. The first demon to be killed was a woman. According to Vedic rules, the killing of a woman, a brahmana, cows, or a child is strictly forbidden. Krishna was obliged to kill the demon Putana, and because the killing of a woman is forbidden according to Vedic Shastra, he could not help but close his eyes. Another interpretation is that Krishna closed his eyes because he simply took Putana to be his nurse. Putana came to Krishna just to offer her breast for the Lord to suck. Krishna is so merciful that even though he knew Putana was there to kill him, he took her as his nurse or mother.
There are 7 kinds of mothers according to Vedic injunction: the real mother, the wife of a teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a king, the wife of a brahmana, the cow, the nurse, and the mother earth. Because Putna came to take Krishna on her lap and offer her breast milk to be sucked by him, she was accepted by Krishna as one of his mothers. This is considered to be another reason he closed his eyes. He had to kill a nurse or mother, but his killing of his mother or nurse was no different from his love for his real mother or his foster mother, Yashoda. We further understand from Vedic information that Putna was also treated as a mother and given the same facility as Yashoda. As Yashoda was given liberation from the material world, Putna was also given liberation. When the baby Krishna closed his eyes, Putna took him on her lap. She did not know that she was holding death personified. If a person mistakes a snake for a rope, he dies. Similarly, Putna had killed so many babies before meeting Krishna, and she mistook him to be like them. But now she was accepting the snake that would kill her immediately.
When Putana was taking baby Krishna on her lap, both Yasoda and Rohini were present. But because she was so beautifully dressed and showed motherly affection toward Krishna, they did not forbid her. They could not understand that she was a sword within a decorated case. Putana had smeared a very powerful poison on her breasts, and immediately after taking the baby on her lap, she pushed her breastly nipple within his mouth. She was hoping that as soon as he would suck her breast, he would die. But baby Krishna very quickly took the nipple in anger. He sucked the milk poison along with the life air of the demon. In other words, Krishna simultaneously sucked the milk from her breast and killed her by sucking out her life. Krishna is so merciful that because the demon Putana came to offer her breast milk to him, he fulfilled her desire and accepted her activities as motherly. But to stop her from further nefarious activities, he immediately killed her. And because the demon was killed by Krishna, she got liberation. As Krishna pressed her breast extremely hard and sucked out her very breath, Putana killed down on the ground. Putana fell down on the ground, spread her arms and legs, and began to cry, "Oh child, leave me, leave me." She was crying loudly and perspiring, and her whole body became wet.
She died screaming as tremendous vibration on the earth and in the sky, on the upper and the lower planet, and in all directions. And people thought that thunderbolts were falling. Thus, the nightmare of the Putna witch was over, and she assumed her real future as a great demon. She opened her furious mouth and spread her arms and legs all over. She fell exactly as Vatasur did when struck by the thunderbolt of Indra. The long hair on her head was scattered all over her body. Her fallen body extended up to 12 miles and smashed all the trees to pieces, and everyone was struck with wonder upon seeing this genetic body. Her teeth appeared just like a plow. Her nostril appeared just like a mountain caves. Her breast appeared like a small hill, and her hair was a vast reddish bush. Her eye sockets appeared like a blind well, and her two tongues appeared like the two banks of the river. Her two hands spread appeared like the two strongly constructed bridge, and her abode seemed like a dried up lake. All the coward men and the women became struck with awe and wonder upon seeing this, and the tremendous sound of her falling shocked their brains and ears and made their heart beat strongly.
When the gopis saw little Krishna fearlessly playing on the Putna's lap, they were quickly came and picked him up. Mother Yasoda, Rohini, and other elder gopis immediately performed the auspicious rituals by taking the tail of the cow and circumambulating his body. The child was completely washed with the urine of a cow, and dust created by the hoofs of the cow was thrown all over the body. This was all just to save little Krishna from future inauspicious accidents. This incident gives us a clear indication of how important the cow is to family, society, and to living being in general. This transcendental body of Krishna did not require any protection, but to instruct us on the importance of the cow, the Lord was smeared over the cow dung, washed with the urine of a cow, and sprinkled the dust unappraised by the walking of the cows.
That would never happen today.
After this purificatory process, the gopis, headed by Mother Yashoda and Rohini, chanted the names of Vishnu to give Krishna's body full protection from all evil influences. They washed their hands and feet and sipped water 3 times, as is the custom before chanting mantra. They chanted as follows: "My dear Krishna, may the Lord who is known as Aja protect your legs. May Lord Maniman protect your knees. May Lord Yagya protect your thighs. May Lord Achyuta protect your upper waist. May Lord Hayagriva protect your abdomen. May Lord Kesava protect your heart. May Lord Isha protect your chest. May Lord Surya protect your neck. May Lord Vishnu protect your arms. May Lord Ukram protect your face. May Lord Ishvara protect your head. May Lord Chakradhara protect your front. May Lord Gadadhara protect your back. May Lord Masuduna, who carries a bow in his hand, protect your right side. May Lord Anjana protect your left side. May Lord Urugaya, with his conch shell, protect you on all sides. May the personality of Godhead, Upendra, protect you from above. May Lord Taksha protect you on the ground. May Lord Haladara protect you from all sides. May the personality of Godhead, known as Hirishikesh, protect all your senses. May Lord Narayana protect your life heirs. May the Lord of Svetadweep, Narayana, protect the core of your heart. May Lord Yogeshwara protect your mind. May Lord Krishnagarbha protect your intelligence. And may the Supreme Personality of Godhead protect your soul. While you are playing, may Lord Govinda protect you from all sides. And when you are sleeping, may Lord Madhava protect you from all danger. When you are walking, may the Lord of Vaikuntha protect you from falling down. When you are sitting, may Lord Narayan give you all protection. And while you are eating, may the Lord of all sacrifices give you all protection.
Wow. That's a lot of- Thus, Mother Yashoda chanted different names of Vishnu to protect child Krishna's different bodily parts. Mother Yashoda was firmly convinced that she should protect her child from different kinds of evil spirits and ghosts, namely Dakinis, Yatudanis, Kushmandas, Yakshas, Rakshashas, Vinayakash, Kotaras, Revatis, Jeshtas, Putanas, Matrikas, Unmadas, and similar other evil spirits who cause persons to forget their own existence and give trouble to the life heirs and the senses. Sometimes they appear in dreams and cause much perturbance. Sometimes they appear as old women and suck the blood of small children. But no such ghosts and evil spirits can remain where there is chanting of the holy names of God. Mother Yashoda was firmly convinced of the Vedic injunctions about the importance of cows and the holy name of Vishnu. Therefore, she took all shelter in the cows and the name of Vishnu just to protect her child Krishna. She recited all the names of Vishnu so that he might save the child. Vedic culture has taken advantage of keeping cows and chanting the holy name of Vishnu since the beginning of history. And persons who are still following the Vedic ways, especially the householders, keep at least 12 cows and worship the deity of Lord Vishnu, who is installed in their house. Persons who are advancing in Krishna consciousness should take instruction from this pastime and also be very much interested in cows and the holy name of Vishnu.
The elder gopis of Vrindavan were so absorbed in affection for Krishna that they wanted to save him, although there was no need to, for he had already protected himself. They could not understand that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead playing as a child. After performing the formalities to protect the child, Mother Yashoda took Krishna and let him suck her breast. When the child was protected by Vishnu mantra, Mother Yashoda felt that he was safe. In the meantime, all the coward men who had gone to Mathura to pay tax returned home and were struck with wonder at seeing the gigantic dead body of Putana. Nanda Maharaj recalled the prophecy of Vasudeva and considered him a great sage and mystic yogi. Otherwise, how could he have foretold an incident that happened during his absence from Vrindavan. After this, all the residents of Raj come, cut the gigantic body of the Putana into pieces and piled it up with wood for burning. When all the limbs of Putana's body were burning, the smoke emanating from the fire created a good aroma of aguru. This aroma was due to her being killed by Krishna. This means that the demon Putana was washed off all her sinful activities and attained a celestial body. Here is an example of how Supreme Personality of Godhead is all good. Putana came to kill Krishna, but because he sucked her milk, she was immediately purified and her dead body attained a transcendental quality. Her only business was to kill small children. She was only fond of blood, but in spite of being envious of Krishna, she attained salvation because she gave her milk to him to drink. So, what can be said of those who are affectionate to Krishna in the relationship of mother, who with great love and affection always serve him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the super soul of every living entity?
It is concluded, therefore, that even a little energy expended in the service of the Lord gives one immense transcendental profit. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Sva alpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. Devotional service in Krishna consciousness is so sublime that even a little service rendered to Krishna, knowingly or unknowingly, gives one the greatest transcendental benefit. The system of worshipping Krishna by offering flowers from a tree is also beneficial for the living entity who is confined to the bodily existence of that tree. When flowers and fruits are offered to Krishna, the tree that bore them also receives much benefit indirectly. The archana process or worshipping procedure is therefore beneficial for everyone. Krishna is worshipable by great demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva, and Bhutana was so fortunate that the same Krishna played in her lap as a little child. The lotus feet of Krishna, which are worshipped by great sages and devotees, were placed on the body of Putana. People worship Krishna and offer him food with great reverence and devotion. But automatically he sucked the milk from the body of Putana. Devotees therefore pray that if simply by offering something as an enemy Bhutana got so much benefit, then who can measure the benefit of worshipping Krishna in love and affection? Therefore, only Krishna should be worshipped, for so much benefit awaits the worshipper.
Although Putna was an evil spirit, she gained elevation just like the mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is clear that the cows and the elderly gopis who offered milk to Krishna were also elevated to the transcendental position. Krishna can offer anything, from liberation to anything, material conversation. Therefore, there cannot be any doubt of the celebration of Putana, whose bodily milk was sucked by Krishna for such a long time. And how can there be any doubt about the celebration of the gopis, who were so fond of Krishna? Undoubtedly, all gopis, cowherd boys, cows, and everyone else who served Krishna in Vrindavan with love and affection were liberated from the miserable condition of material exchange. When all the inhabitants of Vrindavan seemed the good aroma from the smoke of the burning Putana, they inquired from each other, where is this good fragrance coming from? And while conversing, they came to the understanding that it was the fumes of the burning Putana. They were very fond of Krishna, and as soon as they heard that demon Putna had been killed by Krishna, they offered blessing to the little child out of affection. After the burning of Putna, Nanda Maharaj came home and immediately took up the child on his lap and began to smell his head. This is the way he was quite satisfied that this little child was saved from this great calamity. Srila Sukdev Goswami has given a blessing to all persons who hear this narrations of killing of Putana by Krishna. They will surely attain the favor of Govinda. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of 6th chapter of Krishna, Putana killed.
Chapter 7, the salvation of Trinavrata. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is always full of 6 opulences, namely complete wealth, complete strength, complete fame, complete knowledge, complete beauty, and complete renunciation. The Lord appears in different complete eternal forms of incarnation. The conditioned soul has immense opportunity to hear about mental activities of the Lord in these different incarnations. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. The pastimes and activities of the Lord are not material, they are beyond the material conception, and the conditioned soul can benefit by hearing such uncommon activities. Hearing is an opportunity to associate with the Lord. To hear his activities is to evolve one's transcendental nature. Simply by hearing, the conditioned soul has a natural aptitude to hear something about other conditioned souls in the form of fiction, drama, and novel. The inclination to hear about something about others may be utilized in hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Then one can immediately evolve his transcendental nature. Krishna's pastimes are not only beautiful, they are also very pleasing to the mind.
If someone takes advantage of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, the material contamination of dust accumulated in the heart due to long association with material nature can be immediately cleansed. Lord Chaitanya also instructed that simply by hearing the transcendental name of Lord Krishna, one can cleanse the heart of all material contamination. There are different processes for self-realization, but this process of devotional service, of which hearing is the most important function, when adopted by any conditioned soul, will automatically cleanse him of the material contamination and enable him to realize his real constitutional position. Conditional life is due to this contamination only, and as soon as it is cleared off, then naturally the dormant function of the living entity rendering service to the Lord awakens. By developing his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, one becomes eligible to create friendship with the devotees. Maharaj Parikshit recommended from practical experience that everyone try to hear about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. This Krishna treatise is meant for that purpose, and the reader may take advantage of it to attain the ultimate goal of human life.
The Lord, out of His closest mercy, descends to this material world, displays His activities just like an ordinary man. Unfortunately, the impersonalist or the atheistic class of men consider Krishna to be an ordinary man like themselves, and so they deride him, deride Sri Krishna. This is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord Sri Krishna himself. When Sri Krishna says, Avajanati man mudaha, the mudhas or rascals take Sri Krishna to be an ordinary man or slightly more powerful man out of their great misfortune. They cannot accept Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes such an unfortunate person misrepresent themselves as incarnation of Sri Krishna without referring to the authorized scripture.
When Krishna grew up a little more, he began to turn himself backside up. He did not merely lie down on his back. And another function was observed by Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's first birthday. They arranged for Krishna's birthday ceremony, which is still observed by all followers of the Vedic principles. Krishna's birthday ceremony is observed in India by all Hindus, irrespective of different sectarian views. All the cowherd men and women were invited to participate in the jubilant celebration. A nice band played and the assembled people enjoyed it. All the learned brahmanas were invited, and they chanted Vedic hymns for the good fortune of Krishna. During the chanting of the Vedic hymns and playing of the bands, Krishna was bathed by Mother Yashoda. This bathing ceremony is technically called Abhishek, and even today this is observed in all the temples of Vrindavan on Janmashtami Day, or the birthday anniversary of Lord Krishna.
On this occasion, Mother Yashoda arranged to distribute a large quantity of grain, and first-class cows decorated with golden ornaments were made ready to be given in charity to the learned, respectable brahmanas. Yashoda took her bath and dressed herself nicely, and taking child Krishna, duly dressed and bathed, on her lap, she sat down to hear the Vedic hymns chanted by the brahmanas. While Mother Yashoda was listening to the chanting of the Vedic hymns, the child appeared to be falling asleep, and therefore she very silently laid him down on the bed. Being engaged in receiving all the friends, relatives, and residents of Vrindavan on that holy occasion, she forgot to feed the child milk. He was crying, being hungry, but Mother Yashoda could not hear him cry because of the various noises. The child, however, became angry because he was hungry and his mother was not paying attention to him. So he lifted his legs and began to kick his lotus feet, just like an ordinary child.
Baby Krishna had been placed underneath a hand-driven cart, and while he was kicking his legs, he accidentally touched the wheel of the cart and it collapsed. Various kinds of utensils and dishes were made of brass and other metals had been piled up in the handcart, and they all fell down with a great noise. The wheel of the cart separated from the axle, and the spokes of the wheel were all broken and scattered hither and thither. Mother Yashoda and all the gopis, as well as the Maharaj Nanda and the cowherd men, were astonished as to how the cart could have collapsed by itself. All the men and women who were assembled for the holy function crowded around and began to suggest how the cart might have collapsed. No one could ascertain the cause, but some small children who were interested to play with baby Krishna informed the crowd that it was due to Krishna striking his feet against the wheel. They assumed, the crowd, that they had seen how it happened with their own eyes. They assured the crowd that they had seen how it happened with their own eyes, and they strongly asserted the point. Some were listening to the statement of the small children, but others said, "How can you believe the statement of the children?" The coward men and women could not understand that the all powerful personality of Godhead was lying there as a baby and that he could do anything. Both the possible and the impossible were in his power.
While the discussion was going on, baby Krishna cried. Without remonstration, Mother Yasoda picked the child up on her lap and called the learned Brahmanas to chant holy Vedic hymns to counteract the evil spirits. At the same time, she allowed the baby to suck her breast. If a child sucks the mother's breast nicely, it is to be understood that he is out of all danger. After this, all the stronger cowherd men put the broken cot in order, and all the scattered things were set up nicely as before. The Brahmanas therefore began to offer oblations to the sacrificial fire with yogurt, butter, kusha grass, and water. They worshipped the personality of Godhead for the good fortune of the child.
So this concludes our 1 hour reading every Sunday. Srila Prabhupada, thank you for letting us come read Krishna book to you. And we'll continue with the chapter of the salvation of Trinavarta next Sunday. So as we always do, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskachadesha Tarane, and to each other.